Hi.
Hi,
Oh, how are you?
I'm good. I was trying to do it on my computer, but I guess
This
I'll just
oh,
do it
great.
on
I
my
hear you
phone.
perfectly. We're all tuning in, and thanks so much for
Oh,
joining
great.
us.
Okay.
Today we are chatting with Julie Cardia from 1776. She plays Stephen Hopkins. So, if you have questions about 1776 or for Julie, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll get to as many as possible. But Julie, thanks so much for joining us. Um, Welcome back home.
Yeah.
You are from Glen
Yes.
Ellen, right?
Yes. Grew up in Glen Ellen. I grew up in a couple suburbs, but I went to junior high
Oh,
and high
fantastic.
school in Glen Ellen.
So,
So yeah.
to all your cast members, like, do you have certain places that you tell them, like, oh, you have to go here when you're in Chicago?
I mean, I guess the biggest thing is the pizza, right? You have to go to like a
The
Giordano's or
Malnati's,
what's the other
maybe?
one? Yeah, bodies. And everyone's like, okay, we're gonna do that with you. We're gonna go. I think like I know when I lived here, I loved just going by like driving on Lakeshore Drive and going by the lake and walking down State Street and going in all the shops and I mean I know so much has changed like since I was a little kid. I was thinking about my both my grandmas worked at Carson Peary Scott, which was like downtown, and now of course that no longer exists. I think it's a Macy's or a Target, I don't know. Um, but I did hear that the Walnut Room, which is like at the top, where we would go for Christmas and they put up the big tree, that still exists. So that's very cool. Um, yeah, but I think just hanging out downtown, it's such a great city. Go to the top of the Sears Tower. It's a great view of the city. You can see all
So
the
good, so good. Well, we
suburbs.
have so much to talk about, but first I want to talk about specifically your education. We had a few questions come in about you specifically pursuing a master's degree in acting, and you got your undergrad in musical theater and then your grad in acting. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, so I went to Millikan University for undergrad and Cal State in Orange County, California for graduate school. I was an acting major in both, but at Millikan you could really do kind of everything because it was a smaller private school. And I think that was the best part about it was that you could do the operettas, you could do the dance concerts, you could audition for a play, you could audition for a musical. So I did so many musicals there, even though I was not a musical theater major. Yeah, but then later in life, I was around 38 and I had been living in New York at that time for, I guess, 10 years and doing a lot of shows, doing national tours. And I just was kind of craving the process more because a lot of times you really get cast for what you can do. There's no time to teach you how to do it. um, and also when you go do regional theaters, even some national tours, you're kind of recreating what has already been created. So I was really craving a place to go where I could just focus on the process instead of a product. Yeah, and so I was like, well, I've always wanted to go back to school. And my partner of 25 years, he's a television writer now, but he was like, well, I want to move to LA. And I knew that if I went to grad school, I'm from Chicago, I'd been living in New York. I was like, all right, let's try California. So I knew that that would be a good place. There's a ton of schools in California. I got into Cal State Fullerton, full ride, but which also meant that I taught as well. So that kind of paid for my education. And, but I was able, obviously, to just go to school because when I was in grad school, I realized like I thought I could go back and forth up to LA and audition for things. And there's no time. There's absolutely no time. It's all school. So I'm so glad I went though. And I'm glad I also went at an older age because it was really my decision. It was my money that I was, using to survive while going to school. And yeah, and just taking that time away from the business of acting and really just focusing on the craft was
Absolutely.
necessary for
What
me.
piece of advice would you give to fellow actors who are in that same situation of, okay, maybe I want to go back to school, maybe I don't? What would you tell them?
You know, I would tell them when I was so right out of undergrad, I auditioned for grad school. It wasn't my idea. It was kind of an idea that the chairman of our department put in my head, like, have you thought about going to grad school? And I was like, no. But I respected him so much, and I was like, all right, I'll try it. I'll learn my 3 Shakespearean monologues. I'll get a cut of a dramatic and a comedic monologue. I'll work with a coach. And so I did all the work to try to get into school, and I didn't get in. And then, years later, I was like, I'm ready to do this now. And you have, in order to get into a graduate program, you have to go through such a process. It really is like an 8-month process, because you have to do it, almost a year to 8 months before the school year starts. So I think even the process alone of getting your material ready, understanding what type of work, I mean, you're going to have to do Shakespeare. You're going to have to do voice and movement. You're going to have to probably do a lot of works, Ibsen, Tennessee Williams, Chekhov, that you might not have done in your career thus far. So if you can just focus on the process of working up your audition, if you don't have fun with that, either you won't get into a school or it's not the thing for you
Well,
at the
speaking of
moment.
school, we have to know, were you the type of student who liked history classes? Because before 76, you were in Les Mis, which is also in Chicago right now, which is so fun. 1776.
Yeah.
Were you the type of kid who liked history classes?
I really did, but I liked certain moments in history. I mean, there's certain moments that I was more fascinated with than others. I love school. I should kind of throw that out there. I mean, I feel like when I'm not in a show, like I'm always in a class. Even over the pandemic, I took so many online Zoom classes. I kind of just love school. I love the structure. I love the learning. Yeah, and so as far as history, yes, in high school, I loved history. It's probably one of my favorite classes. English, of course, favorite class. Never great at math, but so yes, and I do think it's kind of funny to, have gone from Les Mis, and the cast that is here right now. That's the revival I was in. So a lot of those people I know really well, because we traveled on the road for a year together, and to go from the fight of that independence and now to American independence is kind of cool. Yeah, to be on both.
Absolutely.
Both
well,
sides.
You're in 1776 now. You play Stephen Hopkins. And first, I have to say, I really went in really not knowing a lot about the show. So let me tell you, I'm so blown away. You all did such a marvelous job. I want to take a second to clear the air, because this show is different than Hamilton. And I think a lot of people have questions about, okay, but how is this kind of like Hamilton? And to clear the air, Hamilton's not even a character in 1776. Can you give a little bit of an elevator pitch about what 1776 is about?
Yeah, I would say, for one sentence, 1776 is the events leading up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That's the story. However, I also feel like it is truly an edge of your seat suspense thriller story about, are we going to get these 13 these founding fathers, 13 colonies on the same page in order to sign this sheet of paper? If we don't have everyone in it, we can't fight for our independence. And it really, I mean, it's so exciting. I mean, nowadays, you watch Congress, and just our country, our nation is so divided. And it was exactly like that in 1776. We were completely divided. As you see, there are so many votes taken, and every single time the votes are completely split in half. One side wants this, one side wants that. The difference is, it's interesting in learning about the show and learning about that time period. Every colony really felt as though they were their own country. So as their own country, they were fighting for what they believed was the best for their own country. There were no parties at all. You know, I guess there was obviously you see the North and the South and those differences, but ultimately every colony was out for themselves. So that's a really interesting dynamic. If independence was scary or not going to work for a certain colony, we're not voting for it, you know? So again, it's John Adams's job and you know, everyone to get on the same
And
page to
it's so
sign it
wonderful
up.
because there's so many beautiful comedic moments, and your character brings a lot of those incredible moments. Stephen Hopkins, how does your character of Stephen Hopkins fit into the story that you are telling?
Yeah, so Stephen Hopkins was a delegate of Rhode Island. He was one of the oldest members in Congress. So in the script, it actually says that I'm a 70-year-old man, which is kind of funny, right? But you know, so I just play it how I play it. But he was also, I don't want to say an alcoholic. In the play, he drinks a lot, and his choice of drink is obviously rum, which it was for many of the colonies of that day, because rum was a byproduct of sugarcane and of molasses. And I just recently learned something really interesting about uh, my character, and it was that he had cerebral palsy. And I'm wondering, there was a quote that I read that when he signed the Declaration of Independence, and if you come see the show, our signatures are on the scrim, and his signature is really just kind of messy and almost you can't even read the name, right? And he said that the quote was that he held his right hand with his left hand, because of the cerebral palsy, and he said my hand trembled, but my heart remained still. So he knew. I mean, obviously, through the entire play, I am on the side of independence. He knew what he was doing, and I'm wondering if the alcohol was something that subdued, whether it was tremors or the pain that he was experiencing with his cerebral palsy. But anyway, thought that was kind of interesting. Obviously, it's not touched on in the play at all, but there has to be a reason as to why all of his drinking, you know, and just the fact
Yeah,
that it's a
well,
hard life
maybe
back
one day
then.
we'll get a spin-off about Stephen Hopkins.
Right.
um, I I want to think to, you know, the future, and I know that 1776 you all just started on tour, which is so marvelous. But one thing that I want to touch on about your resume is that for your MFA you co-directed a show called Replica with your, and you were in it with your twin sister, is
Yeah.
that correct? um do you think that
Yes.
maybe one day you want to venture into directing productions?
You know, as far as so I have an identical twin who's also in the business, and my partner of 25 years, I mentioned, he is a television writer, and his name is Mickey Fisher, and he wrote Replica. He wrote it for us. I knew that when I went back to grad school, I wanted to have a product that I could leave school with, and we could give to the world and hopefully get it produced. And Replica was produced at stages in Houston, Texas, which is a great, beautiful equity theater in Texas. And I did not direct that production. It was directed by Seth Gordon, who's an incredible director. Anyway, but anything that Jana and I have done, my sister's name is Jana, anything that we've done together, I would love I would love to continue to co-direct with her. As far as like an entire musical, I love taking direction, and I love creating a character of my own, but it's not a dream of mine to be a director. No, because I know it's such a
Well,
hard
that's
gig,
that's
you know?
fantastic, and we hope to see you come back around to Chicago too, and even more productions.
Yes,
Well, we are nearing the
I
end of our time,
do.
and to jump back to 1776 to wrap up our time, this show has just such wonderful diversity in the cast. It's so beautiful. What do you hope folks take away after seeing this specific production of 1776 with all this female non-binary trans cast?
Yeah. You know, I just hope that this show will spark thought, reflection, and conversation about the topics that are brought up, whether it's racism, slavery, how we have always, as a nation, unfortunately, have put economy before humanity. And, you know, a lot of those discussions came up during COVID, even, right? Like all of these people that were running our country. And I mean, like the nurses and the school teachers and the people that are working at the Walgreens and the CVS. And these were the people that were running the country. And yet they were getting ill. They were being harmed by all of this. And why, as a nation, have we always put economy before our people who are holding the economy up, you know? So I really hope it sparks all of those types of conversations. They continually need to be had. And I really hope that, I know that our cast in its uniqueness will continue to be ambassadors of those
Fantastic.
messages.
Julie, thank you so much for sharing your time and talent with us. We are so grateful. For all those who are watching,
Thank
if you're thinking
you.
about coming to see the show, just come see it. I think it'll really
Yeah.
challenge a lot of your thoughts and just get you thinking. It's a beautiful production. This
Yeah.
cast is just incredible. Come out, see the show. It's at the CIBC Theater until March 12th only. So get your tickets, broadwayinchicago.com, and we hope to see you all there soon. Julie, thanks so much. Welcome home, and I hope you have a great time in Chicago.
Thank you
You're welcome.
so much.
Have a great week,
Good to
everyone.
meet you.